ॐ यश्छन्दसामृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। तं देशिकेन्द्रं परमं पवित्रं विश्वस्य पालं मधुरं यतीन्द्रं हिताय नृणां नरमूर्तिमन्तं विवेक आनन्दमहं नमामि। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। So I am happy to be back again. So as you said, as our Harinamanda just now mentioned, suddenly the program came up and the government wanted me to come. And they said they don't usually pay for the traveling charges. I said I can't go unless you pay me. They send me the tickets, and whenever I come, I make it a point to make a short visit to Hollywood and the satellite centers. Harinamanda is such a sincere seeker and a very loving soul. So his attraction is something which is irresistible. So I am happy to be hosted by you. So now, it's okay. You keep doing funny things as you have been doing all along. That's also good. Fun is good. So I just titled my talk as Great Fun, Great Fun. It is not about Vivekananda. It's a statement made by Swami Vivekananda in one of the letters. This letter is very interesting. This is addressed to Francis Leggett. And you know, Swami Vivekananda is very fond of nicknaming everybody. You call somebody by nickname, as children do in school. His own guru was no exception. You know what was the nickname of Ramakrishna, his master? Budo. Budo means old man in Bengali. Ramakrishna was not that old. He died in the age of 50 only. But 50 used to be an old age in India in those days. And of course, because of intense sadhana and illness and so on, he appeared to be very old with a beard. If you have a beard, he appears slightly older. Swamiji said this, "Oh, I don't have a grey hair. How can a religious preacher have any credibility without grey hair?" So in this letter, Francis Leggett, he called him Frankincense. That was the name given to by Swamiji. He writes a very interesting piece there, very unlike Swami Vivekananda. So you should remember, Swami Vivekananda was intensely a bhakta, a devotee, and he shielded himself with the covering of jnana, just the opposite of his own guru. He himself said this. Sri Ramakrishna, his master, was bhakti outside and jnani inside, whereas in my case, Vivekananda said, I'm a bhakta inside and jnani outside. The covering of jnana puts you off, but is intensely emotional. And he writes in another letter to Miss Mary Hale, there are two sorts of persons in this world. One, quiet, normal, happy, going along with the world. The other, intensely emotional, going up one moment, coming down the next. They have to oscillate between agony and ecstasy. For such people, there is no even tenor of happiness. And of only such people, geniuses are made. And there is a truth in the reason theory that genius is a sort of madness. Unless you are mad after something, you can't really get God. In the bhakti, you said you're mad after God, as gopis were. In the case of jnana, you say you're intensely mad after attaining something which is not of this world. You are deeply dissatisfied with what you have. Vivekananda also said, defining religion in his own inimitable style, religion begins with an intense dissatisfaction with the present state of affairs. The rigmarole of life, getting up early in the morning, washing your teeth, if you do, and having a cup of tea or coffee, and then going to office, the whole day work there, come back, watch your television, and then quarrel with people if you have time. Now the quarrel has come down because people are so busy with their Android phones. They don't talk to each other. So is it all? Day after day, for 40, 50 years you go on, and you become very old, you die. So you ask the question, is there anything beyond this? This question has to come to everybody. If it doesn't come to some people, unfortunately, then don't worry, nature will wake you up. Nature will come down with intense blows and make the doors open. So you have to wake up at some point. So Vivekananda is very fond of saying, my entire message is awake, 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 awake. I have nothing else to say beyond this. Wake up, great ones. Can you afford to sleep anymore? So wake up from the dream which you are dreaming. And in another letter to Nivedita he writes, dream, dream, dream on. Kill dream by dream. So the dream which you are seeing here, this world of externality, the world of the senses, the world of enjoyments, the world of what Swami Vivekananda called eating and drinking and sleeping and society nonsense. That was the language he used. So wake up from this dream to a truer dream which he called eternal love and service free. Even that is a kind of a dream. You kill one dream by the other dream. So in this remarkable letter, Vivekananda the Bhakta, having realized the acme of spiritual consciousness by seeing that the same divine is playing everywhere. In his own life, there is an incident when he was moving around as a parivrajak sannyasi, a wandering monk, a peripatetic monk. In the Himalayas, he saw one jnani, a man of realization, moving around with dirty clothes as if he is a mad person, and children chasing him and throwing stones and having fun with him. And the stone hurts him and he is bleeding all over, but all the time he is laughing. Vivekananda caught him and then drove away those urchins who were chasing him and troubling him, and then bathed him properly, fed him, and then said, these boys are troubling you so much, and why are you not protesting? Why are you not driving them away? Then he laughed and said, oh, that is how the Father plays. So the Divine Father is playing in so many forms. In the form of a man, in the form of a woman, in the form of a child, in the form of a dog or a cat, in the form of an Android phone. He is playing. So don't be irritated when people keep on looking at the phones and messaging you. That's how the Mahamaya, if you call it in the female gender, or the great God is playing with everybody. That's how the Father plays. Swami Brahmananda once said, you see, my mind sometimes rises to such a plane in which I see Lord Himself is playing in so many forms, wearing so many masks. The mask of a woman, the mask of a man, the mask of a child, the mask of ignorant person, learned person. And I ask myself, whom to teach? It's all He. Then I force my mind down so that I can give you some teachings. You should remember the difference between our minds and the minds of great men. The fundamental difference being, we try to take our minds higher and higher with little success. If we push our minds an inch, it comes down several hundred miles. In the case of great men, their whole struggle and sadhana is how to bring the mind down so that they can teach us. Sri Ramakrishna, of course, is unparalleled in this connection. Sharada Devi never made people understand the state of her mind. But in the case of Swami Brahmananda and Swami Vivekananda himself, it's very clear. If you read the life of Vivekananda and the incidents connected with him, you see how Swami Vivekananda is full of samadhi and full of meditation in the West. There are stories of him entering a tram car, overshooting the destination because he got absorbed in samadhi perhaps. We don't know what happened to him. And then going to the end of the journey, and the conductor says, "Sir, where do you want to go?" He mentions that, "Oh, you have overshot it. Come, take the other train and go the other way." He takes the tram car back, again goes to the other end of the destination, goes back and forth several times. Can you believe that? Is it a story, or is it a feigning, or is it a drama? The fact is, these people are struggling and struggling to bring their minds down so that they can teach us. Look at the compassion of these people. Just meditate on the compassion. They could remain absorbed in samadhi as Vivekananda himself was, as Sri Ramakrishna testifies. He was one of those rishis in the Saptarsha Mandala, meditating, getting absorbed. And the little child that Ramakrishna became at that time, out of the ocean of consciousness, gently pats him. And the very touch of this divine child awakens this rishi. And in a voice which is so mellifluous, extraordinarily divine, this child says, "I am going, you should go too." The rishi doesn't speak, gently smiles in assent, and again gets absorbed. When Sri Ramakrishna saw Narayan for the first time, he recognized him to be that rishi. So that was the state of his mind. So why did he come down, and why did he struggle so much to bring his mind down into this world to which he didn't belong? Sister Christine, his American disciple, in the Reminiscences, for those of you who have not read it, please do read this Reminiscence. Reminiscences Swami Vivekananda by Sister Christine. She begins by saying, "Now and then, at great intervals of time, a being finds its way into this earth. These beings tarry not for a long time. They don't belong here. Such a person I have seen, I have worshipped. To him I have given my heart's devotion." Swami Turiyananda once said, "We thought Narayan, Vivekananda, was extraordinary. He was like us, one of us, the disciples of Ramakrishna, but extraordinarily talented. How could we ever know that he never belonged to us? He belonged to a class by himself." A passage from the Bhagavatam was being read out to Swami Turiyananda once. The passage is very interesting. The reflection of the full moon is in the river on a full moon day. The bright disk which the moon appears to be as a reflection in the river is so enchanting, so charming. The fish are playing, the little fish are playing with this reflection the whole night. And the river is flowing, so the reflection is oscillating this way and that way. And the fish is so happy playing with this reflection. And when the sun comes up, the reflection is gone. And these fish go and cry to the mother fish, "Mom, what happened to our playmate? Whole night we were so happy playing with this. Where is he gone?" Then the mother fish consoled them, saying, "You stupid fellows, he was never your playmate. He is in the high heavens. Out of compassion for you, he came down so that you can play with him. How can you ever reach him? When this passage was being read out, Swami Atmapriyananda was moved to tears. Everybody thought he is perhaps thinking of his own master. But he said, how much we have played with Swamiji, with Narain, and how much of fun and how much of frolic and how much of friendly quarrel. We thought he was one of us. How could we ever know that he never belonged to us in any way? That was Swami Vivekananda. So he writes in this letter to Francis Legate. I'll quote a few passages which I memorized since childhood. Letters of Swami Vivekananda are something which you should reread and memorize. Because the Vivekananda, who is a great speaker and orator in the West and the East, is not the real Vivekananda which you can appreciate unless you know his intimate moments. What he pours out in his letters to his very, very intimate friends and disciples is something which reveals the character of this man in a very profound way. He says, at 20 years of age, I was the most uncompromising, unsympathetic fanatic. I would not walk on the road near the theatre side in Calcutta because there lived many actresses who were not of good character. So Swamiji would avoid them, would despise them. At the age of 33, I can live in the same house with prostitutes and not feel like saying a word of reproach to them. Is it degenerate, or is it that I am growing into that universal love which is God Himself? Sometimes I get into a sort of ecstasy. I want to go and embrace everyone in this world. Even if there's a devil, I will go and embrace him. It's a funny world, and the funniest chap you ever saw was he, the beloved infinite. Brotherhood or playmatehood, a school of romping children let out to play. They want explanations, but how can you explain him? He is brainless and is fooling us with little brains. This time he won't get me napping. I have found a thing or two beyond all this world is that love, the infinite love, the pure, unselfish love. I, Sakhe means the friend, drink the cup of love and be mad. Ever yours in madness, Vivekananda. Great fun, as Joe says. Joe means Joseph and McLeod. Great fun, as Joe says. It's a funny world, and the funniest chap you ever saw is he, the beloved infinite. He is playing around in so many forms. What is the philosophical significance of this statement? It appears to be so enchanting. You are carried away by the emotion, the devotion. The philosophical underpinning of this statement is, when children play with great fun, there is so much of charm in that. Whatever the children do is so charming. Why? Because the children are not bound by causality. I'll go to a little philosophy now, philosophy and science. The entire world is bound by causality. You understand what is causality? Cause and effect. And causality is always related to timing, sequence of timing. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. What happened yesterday is the cause. What happens today is the effect. What happens today is the cause. And what's going to happen tomorrow will be the effect. That's very simple. There was a talk at Santiago. I missed you. Why didn't you not come? Oh, I drenched in the rain and I got a bad cold and fever. I couldn't come. Yesterday. That's it. Be careful. Why did you not come? I am going to get drenched in the rain tomorrow, so I couldn't come today. How does it look like? Causality means the cause has to precede the effect. There is a sequence of timing. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. The whole world is bound by time, and in time and causality is the chain in which our whole lives move. The movement of life is in the chain of causality, in the path of causality. There's a path of causality which has been given to you, and you keep moving there. And every moment look for causes and look for effects. And some people are very ambitious, like the management people. They project targets. Tomorrow I am going to achieve this. Yesterday I did this. So you project targets, which means the target which I am projecting from today into tomorrow, from this point in the present to a future point in the future, is obviously conditioned by the present. Can you see that? When I make a projection tomorrow for the future, obviously I am doing it now. And therefore I am being conditioned by the present, although I am projecting something for the future. So that conditioning is time. Today I am this, tomorrow I want to become that. So in this chasing of the target from today to tomorrow, there's a continuous movement in time. An endless chase, and I end up becoming a frustrated person. It's very important to see this. How the human mind is constantly projecting goals and targets into the future from the present, shaped by the present, conditioned by the present, and chasing that target through a movement in time. Can you see this?
Yes.
So if you can see this palpably, you will see the whole movement in time to be able to chase and achieve this target is a myth. Because the target doesn't exist except in your mind now, and the past has conditioned you into the present, and the present is conditioning you into the future. And you don't exactly know what's going to happen in the future. The future is uncertain, the past is gone. So what actually exists is now. Now at 6:55 p.m. at San Diego, you are here listening to me, and here, this is the only truth. What's going to happen to us 5 minutes later is anybody's guess. I always give the example of the Twin Towers. You know, the notorious breaking of the Twin Towers in New York, 9/11 as they call it. 9/11 was the day Swami Vivekananda spoke about harmony and peace. So that was the day, the terrible destruction. 11th of September 2001. 10th of September 2001, there must have been several conferences in the Twin Towers because it contains so many companies. In one of the conferences, perhaps, there's a huge discussion by the board of directors. Where do you see company 5 years hence? And somebody is projecting, the PowerPoint projection. The curve goes here and there, conditioned by the finance of the past, present, and the curve stays there. That's where we see the company 5 years hence. Where was the company on the 11th of September? That is life. Life is so fragile, so uncertain, and we keep projecting targets. So if you can stay put in the present and move from moment to moment to moment, as the Buddhistic technique of meditation teaches you, then you live in the present, which is the most vital, most palpable, most powerful. Or the past, present, and the future, the present alone is real, because the present is the only reality which you can think of. When you think of the past, you have to bring it to the present to think about this. When you project something into the future, you have to think of the present in which you can project the future. So the present alone is. This present is called existence. In physics, they think of a double cone. A cone which is moving this way, and another cone which is moving downwards. And there's a point in between. And physicists will say this is infinite future on the one side, infinite past on the other side, and the eternal present, which is just a point, an Euclidean point without any dimension. Elementary geometry will tell you, by definition, a point is something which has no dimension. Then you ask, what is a line? A line is something which consists of several points. What is a circle? A circle is something which a line curves and curls upon itself, and you get a circle. What is a sphere? When a circle rotates about one of its diameters, you get a sphere. So ultimately you get all these shapes from just a point which has no dimension. This is mathematics and physics. The whole world has come out of a point dimensionless. From shunya, the whole thing appears to be. This is very strange how it happens. Then if you ask too many questions, science will say, take this as an axiom. Science doesn't have answers for everything. Of course, nobody has answers for anything. And there are no answers for any question. That's why we can have continuous talks and seminars, because nothing can be answered. If you ask fundamental questions, you are stuck. The truths about the fundamental reality can't be really answered. Not even the Brahman and Atman and spiritual reality. What is matter is not defined. Materialistic science cannot say what is matter. So what is matter? In elementary school, we read matter is something which is occupied by space. What is space? Space is something which is occupied by matter. You go round and round without understanding both. Then you say, you know, man, what is matter? Don't ask these questions. Which means there are certain things which we think we know and go on with that. So now, when we talk about fun, children playing, you talk about a situation in which there is a non-causal transaction taking place. A child is not motivated by causality. Unfortunately, when we grow up, we were children once upon a time, so charming, so cute, so innocent. Unfortunately, we got into what is known as education, school, college, university. The more educated you are, the more corrupt you become. Because you buy the views of others and think you know. A person with a doctorate degree and a postdoctoral degree, you talk to him for some time and say, sir, I think what you say is not exact. What do you mean? Look at my papers, look at my book. The whole downfall of the human mind begins when it acquires knowledge and thinks that it knows. The greatest sign of wisdom is to know that you do not really know. Socrates was declared by an incorporeal voice in Athens. Socrates is the wisest man on earth. And people rushed to Socrates. Congratulations, Socrates. You have been declared by an incorporeal voice that you are the wisest man on earth. Socrates said, me? I don't know. Oh, then he said, yeah, perhaps. Because I alone perhaps know that I do not really know. Yasya matam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasaha avijñātam vijānatam vijñātam avijānatam Kenopanishad. One who knows that he does not really knows. One who does not know alone knows. One who thinks he knows does not really know. So wisdom begins when knowledge ends. Knowledge of the object with the surety that you know, that has to end so that wisdom can begin. End of knowledge, you know what is the Sanskrit equivalent of end of knowledge? Familiar word which is written there outside. It is written there outside in bold letters. Vedanta. Anta is end, Veda is knowledge. So end of knowledge is Vedanta. Knowledge has to end. Knowledge of the other, knowledge of the outside, knowledge of the object has to end so that wisdom can flourish within you, spontaneously well up within you, and you realize that you do not know the other, but you know yourself as the other. So when children play, all the elders are so happy about it. And children do not know that they are playing. They do things not out of any compulsion, not out of volition, not out of thought, not out of planning, not out of projecting as a PowerPoint what you should do, but spontaneously and naturally. So this was the beauty of great men like Ramakrishna and Jesus Christ and Swami Vivekananda and others. They played the game of life most spontaneously and naturally without planning. Swamiji writes in a letter to Nivedita, plans, plans, plans. This is the bane of your Western thought. In India we don't plan. Of course there's so much of chaos. And we are not apologetic, we are happy about it. Because after all the whole world is chaos. Everything was quiet, suddenly there was a big bang, science says, several billion years ago. When scientists say that, you have to swallow it because you don't know exactly what happened when. Who saw the Big Bang, what happened, don't ask such questions. Complicated equations I have solved, published in a paper in a scientific journal, and you have to so several billion, how many billions years ago, there's a Big Bang. So everything is so good, there's an equilibrium. Why did the bang take place? Chaos. And there's a theory now in science, in physics, order actually comes out of chaos. The chaos theory is one of the most important theories in physics now. It's everywhere. You know what the simplest example of chaos, which you see in everyday life? Open the tap. Water simply rushes like that. When you slowly open it, there's kind of streamlined motion. Chaotic motion, called turbulent motion. And when you're in the aircraft, sometimes the captain has switched on the fasten seatbelt sign. We are passing through a turbulence. Please return to your seats and fasten your seat belts. Turbulence. Nature suddenly throws up certain turbulences, and because of turbulence we keep moving. So chaos is everywhere, and out of chaos comes order. Now, when a child plays spontaneously, everything is chaos. You can't ask a child to think in a streamlined, systematic, planned way. The child simply throws things aside, and initially the dad and the mom, they say, oh, child is so funnily playing, not beyond a point. If he throws everything out, then you give a good slap and keep quiet, sit down. And you train him or her to be systematic and kill all the initiative and spontaneity. We have been trained that way. You should be gentle, you should be systematic in your thinking and behavior. All the spontaneity is killed. Have you seen birds chirping in the morning? Of course, unfortunately, in our civilization, we have no time to look at the sun and the moon and the stars. We don't have time to listen to the birds chirping because everything is fully closed. You put an air conditioner and think that's highly civilized. Nature is just waiting there to give you the sunlight. A purest of the air. They said, no, I will cut all this out and put an air conditioner and say I am civilized. The place where we stay in the Belur, but he was also there for 3 years. Early morning, so many birds started chirping. Complete chaos. The birds don't say, let us now musically chant one after the other. First you do, then I go, then you go. This is spontaneously they express themselves. Nature is a spontaneously expressing phenomenon. And another thing also I noticed, I keep looking at all this and thinking very funnily, too much of funny thought I became a Swami. If you think funnily, then you can't be your old self. A cuckoo is cooing so sweetly, melodiously. And there's a crow just beside it, caw, caw, caw. Then I tell the crow, are you not ashamed? Such a beautiful melodious sound your brother is doing. And the crow says, no, God has given me this, I will just express. This is what a child does. If you tell a child, can you sing a song? They'll say, Kah! It will shout. Everybody laughs. It is so charming. But when we are asked to sing, suppose a musician, the greater he is, the more fuss he makes. So can you sing a song for us? Oh, I don't have the instruments properly. Anyway, I will try. He is very much concerned about what people will say of him. Playing to the gallery, I have to make an impression. So nature doesn't want to make an impression. Child doesn't want to make an impression. Child spontaneously expresses itself. So if you go back to the spontaneity of a child, the naturalness and the simplicity and the innocence, then you have gone beyond causality. So Swami Vivekananda says, it's a school of romping children, let us to play. We want explanations of how things are happening. The how and the why is what science is all about. And science ends up by not finding any answer to anything. And the more questions remain, the more papers can be published, and the more conferences can be held, and everybody seems to think I have understood something. That is the movement from ignorance to ignorance, and in ignorance there is great joy. You know, ignorance is bliss. Example, when you are deeply asleep, you know nothing and you feel great joy. If you know something, immediately you are unhappy. So this idea of wanting explanations for everything, if that ceases, I am not saying you should not ask, keep asking, but back of your mind you know you can't really explain anything in this world. Doctors, for example, treat diseases. Sometimes certain kinds of fever come to you. In Calcutta, it was very common. Some years ago, we had what is known as the Calcutta fever. They did not find a name for it. They couldn't find what kind of virus is causing it. The doctors finally came up with a wonderful diagnosis, fever of unknown origin. It doesn't require a doctor to say that. So you do not exactly know why this happens. So I always imagine when there is an international medical conference, doctors discussing same and so many viruses, how to tackle them. Simultaneously with that conference, there is a huge conference in the virus world. Viruses come together, they elect a president and a secretary, and then the virus says, ladies and gentlemen, if there are ladies and gentlemen viruses, we don't know. These doctors are holding an international conference. We should now throw up a new disease and show them how they can tackle us. Suddenly a new disease comes up. Even years ago, we did not know several diseases which are being thrown up. We don't know anything about the human body. We don't know anything about the mind, of course. We don't know anything about the universe beyond certain rudimentary knowledge. And we think we know. Now, you keep on probing, investigating. The human mind, of course, will question. I am not disputing that. But remember that there are certain things which are beyond your logic. There are certain things which have to be intuitively, spontaneously, naturally, non-logically understood, not illogically. It is beyond logic, but not illogical. So the word which is used for that, allogical, it is neither logical nor illogical. There is an allogical perception of this universe in which causality doesn't play a part. This is what a child does. In the Gospel of Ramakrishna, in Bengali it is Ramakrishna Kathamrita, so Ramakrishna says, in Bengali, I'll translate it for you in English, এমন আছে কলিতে ভগবান সাক্ষাৎ কথা বলেন না, কিন্তু তিনি শিশুর মুখে আর পাগলের মুখে কথা বলেন. It is said that God directly doesn't speak to man in the Kali Yuga, But he speaks through a child and through a mad person. Look at this sentence. If you analyze it philosophically and scientifically, you will find that two categories of beings in this universe, in this world, who don't behave logically. Who are they? A child and a mad person. Mad person doesn't have a logic, because it doesn't have logical sequential thinking. And therefore, if a mad person makes a mistake, makes an offense, he is not punishable. Do you know that? Law cannot punish him. If somebody commits an offense, and if you can prove that he is mentally deranged, no law can punish him, because he has not done it out of volition, out of a causal thought. You don't punish a child also. I'll give a simple example which I saw. So much is there to learn from life as we move along. Every experience and every thought and every perception can give you a great pearls of wisdom. We had an illustrious president in India, Dr. Abdul Kalam. Most of you must have heard his name. He was very beloved of everybody. He was called People's President. He was so simple. He was a great missile scientist. Very simple person. Because he was holding that office and he was also a scientist, he was given Z++ security, the highest security of the land. The special protection groups will go around him, black hat commandos will always be surrounding him. There is a convocation of a university he addressed, and I also was invited. I went there. There was a thorough check of security and so on. The convocation is just about to begin. The president is sitting there in the dais, along with several dignitaries, the vice chancellor and the chancellor and others. Just before the convocation was about to begin, a small child came in and looked at the president in the eye and said, and then walked away. Making faces, as they call it. You know what was the reaction of the entire audience, including the president? They simply hilariously laughed, took that child in the arms and caressed it and fondled it. Oh, how cute, how wonderful. If you and I had done that, we would have been immediately arrested. Because you can't do that to the president. You are showing disrespect to the president of India. That means you are showing disrespect to the land. Arrest him immediately, put him under bars. What is the difference? This morning, I saw it with my eyes. This incident started a trigger of thought in me. See, every incident in life, you can philosophically and spiritually connect. Make this a habit. Because every incident is connected to the divine, connected to God, connected to the spiritual reality, connected to something vaster and bigger and more the infinite. Then I thought, what is the difference? If any adult had done that, it would have been this very serious offense for which he may be punished and jailed. But here is a small child and making faces at the president in the presence of everybody, very serious, august, solemn occasion of the convocation of a university, and everybody is praising the child, fondling the child, and giving it a special prize for doing that. What is the difference? The child did not act out of causality. There is no cause behind the child doing it. Spontaneously it felt like it, and he did it. Because Abdul Kalam had a flowing hair, very peculiar hairdress, but the child was very amused at that. So why I am saying this, if you can behave like children, not causally behave, once again, don't say, from tomorrow I will behave like a child. Once again you are caught there. Not out of thought, not out of pre-planning, not out of premeditated thinking. Spontaneously, naturally, which means erasing your little ego. If you can just go through the world like a child, then you have done it. This is what Ramakrishna did, this is what Jesus the Christ did. This was the great men of God did. Whatever they did was not out of their own egoistic impulse, but naturally and spontaneously. If you are spiritually and religiously inclined, you say it comes from God. They follow the dictate of God. If you are not so spiritually and godly inclined, you say it is a spontaneous expression of what they actually were. So Swami Vivekananda says, great fun, as Joe says. Look at these two sentences, great fun, great fun. As I told you, Swami Vivekananda tells Nivedita, plans, plans, plans. In India, we don't make any plans. In another letter, he writes, I don't make plans. Plans unfold of themselves as they go along. This is a lesson which you have to learn in life also. You make a very tentative plan, of course. When I had to come to America, I had to book my ticket, I had to make up an itinerary. Of course I have to do. But make it tentative, knowing full well that you do not exactly know how this plan is going to unfold. So tentatively you do it. One way to do it, which I do, very superstitious way of doing this, write down the whole thing, print it out, take a computer printout, put it at the feet of the Kali, Divine Mother, whoever is your deity, and then say, oh Mother, this is what I have done. I offer it to you, modify it, change it, make it happen, make it not happen, I don't know. You take care. So which means I have something in my mind which I have planned out of causality, but I place it before the Divine and ask for the intervention of the Divine to make it happen in spite of me. And if you are very highly elevated, Swami Brahmananda and others, you don't make plans at all. He or she makes plans for you. In India, in Hinduism, we have she for goddesses also. In Christianity, you have only he. And now people are more conversant with Hinduism. In the olden days, I heard about the Swamis about 50, 60 years ago. In the Durga Puja, they said, God is the Divine Mother. The phone calls, how can God be the mother? God is the father. So now they say gender neuter. That's another problem. We had it in India. There's nothing new. They said, don't call it she or he, call it it. Tat. Tat is the name of Brahman. So Brahman is neutral gender. So Brahman is neither male or female, is neutral gender, transgender, who knows. So all kinds of things happen. Oh, human mind is coming up with so many things. So they want something new. So come on, have an issue and then go on debating about it. So Swami Brahmananda once was asked, you make plans, itinerary and then book tickets and so on, but you never go by it. Abani Maharaj, Swami Prabhavanandaji, the founder of this Vedanta Society of Southern California, Hollywood, he was a brahmachari at that time. His name was Abani. Swami Brahmananda told him, bring the almanac, I am going to fix up a good auspicious date on which I will go. In India, we think of auspicious dates. Whatever that could mean for you, you should not travel in such and such a date, it is not auspicious and so on. The whole thing is based on the climatic conditions. Statistically they have found out this particular climate will not suit this travel and so on. Swami Abani Maharaj is laughing sarcastically. Then so why are you laughing like that? Maharaj, you always make plans and then decide to go on such and such a date, but you never stick to it. You keep on changing. Then very seriously Raja Maharaj said, Swami Brahmananda, do you mean to say I do anything out of my own will? Then Abani audaciously asked him, by whose will are you being governed? I go by the will of God. Once again Abani will not leave, being the rationalist mind that he was. Oh, it's very easy to imagine one's own will as God's will. You know what Swami Brahmananda answered? I was stunned when I read this answer. What can you say for this? How do you know God's will? Then he said, why? I talk to God and find out what is His will. Either He is a total liar, hypocrite, or He is the greatest of saints. It can't be anything in between. Since the first is ruled out, He has to be the second. You talk to God and find out what is His will. So these divine people are guided completely by the will of God. Not by causality, not by personal volition, not by calculation, but a divine hand continuously guides them. It happened to Swami Vivekananda, although he very seldom spoke about it. In a letter he writes to Mrs. Bull, "You ask me whether I will go to such and such a place for a class or no. I have not decided as yet." Then he adds, "Between you and me," very secretly, "between you and me, I am a sort of mystic and do not move without orders." Triple underline. And that has not come yet. Every one of his movements, whether he'll do a class in a particular day, whether he'll move, take a which train to which place, everything was guided completely and totally by a divine revelation, divine source. You may dispute it. You may think this also. Everything is a superstition. When people talk about superstition and religion, scientific superstition is much worse. You do not really know what happened in the Big Bang. Higgs boson have been discovered. Everybody is jumping up now. The one good thing happened was the old man Higgs got a Nobel Prize. And after some time the scientists will come and say, "Oh, we do not exactly know, we are now disputing, we do not know," etc. So many, 10,000 scientists came in CERN, made an experiment and finally claimed that this has been discovered. Now the experiments are going on. So the truth is so vast, so complex, although it is so simple, and you claim certain things at a particular moment without really knowing how far they may be true. So this is not a superstition. Actually you can see and find out. This is the revelation when you see and actually perceive. What do you say about it? The great mathematical genius in India called Srinivasa Ramanujan, many of you must have heard about him. Hardy picked him up, took him to England and trained him, because he was an untrained mathematician of a genius. And he was rediscovering many things which have been already discovered. He didn't know. So Hardy took him to England, trained him systematically, and he found every day Ramanujan is coming up with newer theorems for which he had no proof. But outstandingly new, revolutionary theorems. Then Hardy asked him, "Ramanujan, what is the proof of these theorems?" As like an innocent child, Ramanujan smiles and says, "Sir, proof? I see that they are true. Pratyaksha, I see them to be true." When you see something as true, you don't ask for a proof of it. I'll give you a simple example. Are you all sitting and listening to me? Yes. Proof? You are sitting here? Are you sitting here? What is the proof? Proof is that you are sitting here, that's all. So you can have a video picture and say, video picture is only a shadow of what you are. That you are here is the proof that you are here. Existence, asti. Asti, sat doesn't require any other proof except that it is. Isness is the existence of isness, nothing else. So when you see something as true, no other proof is necessary. Narayan went and challenged Ramakrishna, "Have you seen God? Tell me clearly." So Ramakrishna smiles and says, "I have seen him as I am seeing you, but much more intensely. And I can show him to you. But my child, who wants to see him? People are so much obsessed with wives and children and money and possessions. Who longs and calls on God? What can you say for that? If you say, I actually see him, as palpably, as tangibly, I see this world. There are certain people who are blessed with this perception. You can't challenge them. As scientists say, I have seen this particle. You go and challenge them. How do I know this is a superstition that you have found this particle? You go through the discipline and see. Then only you will know how true or how untrue it is. Then Hardy asks Ramanujan, how is it that you come up with newer and newer theorems every day in your notebook? Then very shyly and apologetically, Ramanujan tells him, Sir, I worship a goddess in my village called Goddess of Namakkal in Tanjavur. in Tamil Nadu, that goddess, that Devi, the Divine Mother, comes in my dreams and tells me these theorems, and I wrote down. And he was completely perplexed. But the theorems are there for you to see. You can't wish away those theorems, and which are revolutionary, path-breaking. Then he said, this boy is a mathematical genius, doubtlessly, but hopelessly religious. There are certain things which are beyond your perception, beyond your what the logical mind can say, beyond logic, beyond the perception of the ordinary world. There are certain perceptions which are true, which are not provable by your logic. In the last century, apart from the relativity theory and the quantum theory, there is an outstanding revolutionary discovery by one Gödel, which is called the Gödel Theorem. Some of you definitely might know it. Recently I was in Princeton University, the Princeton Institute of Advanced Study, where Einstein lived. There's a table. Einstein brought Gödel there. And there's a table in which every day at 4 p.m., Einstein, Gödel, Oppenheimer, Wolfgang Pauli, all of them took tea. With great nostalgia and great reverence, we touched the table, they had a photograph. Outstanding minds. Gödel came up with a theorem which simply shook all our logical thought. Gödel said there are certain true statements within formalistic logics which are neither provable nor disprovable by the framework of your own logic. God is one such. It's a true statement. You can neither prove it nor disprove it. Suppose you say, "Oh Swami, you are a religious person. Can you prove the existence of God?" I ask the question, you disprove his existence, let me see. You cannot disprove him, I can't prove him. So let us be friends. There are certain things which are real, true. They can be seen, perceived, palpably, tangibly transacted with. So Ramakrishna said, I saw God, I saw Kali, I talked to her. So Ramakrishna was playing with Kali like a child. Are they untrue? They are true. But we do not know how these things happened. So better not probe into certain things which your stupid logical mind, because the logical mind is only very, very limited. You can't understand certain things. Even emotions you can't understand. There's a small book by Arthur Eddington called The Nature of the Physical World. It's a very old book, 1930s he gave these lectures in England. There the last chapter, Science and Mysticism. There he writes, there are two kinds of knowledge. One is symbolic knowledge, the other is intimate knowledge. Symbolic knowledge is something which is derived through science, through symbols, through interpretative logical mind. And intimate knowledge is something which is not derived through logic, derived through the mental ratiocination, spontaneously, intimately felt and discovered. There are certain things even in the ordinary life. He says, I'll give you a simple example. Example of humor. You know what's a humor? What's a joke? Suppose somebody tells a joke. I am a scientist. I will not laugh unless I know whether it's truly a joke. Then you ask, what are the characteristics of a joke? You can define the characteristics 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the confirmatory test, like in the chemical salt. Then you take a joke, analyze it very carefully based on this criteria, and after confirmatory test of the joke, you come to the conclusion that it's really and truly a joke. Your next reaction should be to laugh. But by the time your analysis of a joke is complete, joke will retain all its characteristics except the laughableness. It just doesn't do to reveal the inner workings of a joke. The reaction to a joke should come spontaneously, intimately, and not through analysis. Analytical understanding falls short at some place. There's a synthetic, intimately felt understanding, a perception which is beyond logic. And we have it every day. He gives another example. You see a beautiful rainbow. You see the sun rising in the morning, a crimson red. in Belur, where I come from, the Ganges is flowing by and the sun is rising. You see a golden path as it were in the Ganges. You feel as it were you can walk on that path and catch the sun. And we pray, Bhushanne Karishe Yamasurya Prajapatya Vyuharashmin Samohate Joyatte Rupam Kalyanatamam Tatte Pashyami Yosavaso Purusha Sohamasmi. O sun, uncover yourself so that I can see your beautiful radiant face. You can go and walk along the path and catch the sun. You feel so elevated. Go and tell a scientist, I saw the beautiful reddish sun just coming out. Science will tell you 6,000 angstrom units. 6,000 multiplied by 10 power minus 8 centimeters, the wavelength of red. Yellow is 5893 angstrom unit. You see a beautiful yellow flower, and a scientist will say, what is there to be so wonderful, to wonder about it? What is beauty? It is only 5893 angstrom units. So you don't measure the world through angstrom units and through science. So beauty is something which is felt. Love, beauty, kindness, compassion. And enjoying a piece of humor. Extend it to God. There are some people who are naturally endowed with the ability to be able to intuit and enjoy God, spiritual reality, and you can't measure them with the same kind of measure as you do in the case of science. Science is analytical. Science analyzes. Science is symbolic knowledge. But spirituality and religion and even ordinary life, it is most spontaneous. Suppose you say, oh, you have come, I have great love for you. How much of love? Come on, measure and tell me. How many kilograms of love? See, children, if you ask them, do you really love me? Yes. How much? This much, they will say. You can see children doing that. So you can't quantify qualities. The whole paradox of existence, life itself, we constantly oscillate between quantity and quality. Quality is something which can't be quantified, and we constantly attempt to quantify quality, fail in that, and keep on writing books on that. One simple example is examination. What does examination do? It examines the knowledge which you possess of a subject. How do you examine the knowledge? You say, I give a set of questions. If the answers to the questions is right, then you're supposed to have more knowledge. Is that all? All the answers may be wrong, but still you may have knowledge about the subject. This is one naive and crude way of assessing your knowledge. Nowadays, we don't even ask questions now. We have multiple choice questions. Because a few million answer papers to be examined within a week. So put it to the computer, put a shadow there, computer mechanical analyzes the whole thing. Multiple choice. Does the multiple choice question paper really find out how much knowledge you have in a subject? Particularly in subjects like English. Literature. Literature, they put multiple choice, and then you put a tick, and then you have no more English than anybody else. There is a joke about a boy who was always trained in the MCQ, multiple choice questions. He went for an interview, he got 99.9 in English. Nowadays they get it in India. Because you keep on ticking, you may not write a single correct grammatical sentence, but you have a lot of knowledge of English. Then the interviewer was highly impressed. You are a brilliant boy. You are a wizard. What's your name, my kid? The child was blinking. What's your name? The father said, sir, you please ask, your name is A. Ghosh, B. Banerjee, C. Dutta. Then he'll kick out one. He is not used to answering direct questions. That's what we have reduced our examinations to. Because the number is increasing. So what are we doing there? We are trying to assess knowledge, which is a quality, through a quantifying means. The whole paradox of existence is between quantity and quality. There are emotions within the human heart. How much of love does a person possess? Now in law they say, does the person tell a lie or does not tell a lie? Detector of lie detector. You put him there, if his blood pressure is slightly up, then he's telling a lie. He may not. There can be some hardened criminals who can coolly lie without the pressure being absolutely normal. Or there could be a person who has become so true, become tense and the pressure may go up. So you think that the physiological reaction to a mental emotion, by measuring the physiological reaction, the mental emotions can be understood. The same thing is happening in yoga. Unfortunately, it's going to the other extreme. Yoga, they say, when you meditate, there are certain neurophysiological changes which take place. When you're very angry, then immediately the neurons, how they fire anger, etc. You have a complicated calculation, you have EEGs and all complicated and very costly machines, and then finally you decide, oh, this person is angry. You can see his face and find out. You don't need such calculations. So the spontaneity of life, naturalness, and directly perceiving and feeling, that is slowly going away because of the machines and gadgets. So when Swami Vivekananda said great fun, he was talking about a situation in which non-causality will be the operational doctrine, in which life will be so full of joy and fun. Children never get bored. Have you ever seen a child getting tired and bored? Train is delayed by 2 hours. Very often when you travel by Air India, if the flight takes off in time, you are confused. Because there's something fundamentally wrong. How can Air India take off in time? When I came, 2 hours delay. We knew, oh, only 2 hours? Oh, good luck. And everybody is looking at the watch constantly. The watch is not going to do anything to you. You look at it 100 times, the same time is going to be shown. But the mind is restless. They move here and there and then the scold. Everybody is always like that. I see children moving around happily, going around and seeing everything. The more they delay, the merrier they are. Because they are not governed by compulsions of causality. I have to go at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, who decides 10 o'clock? Time is only an arbitrary device which I have done. You have daylight savings. Suddenly you say 10 o'clock is not 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock is 9 o'clock. When I came, Swami, I said it was 10. No, it is 9. Somebody decides at one point 10 is 9. And everybody says now 10 is 9. So remember how silly the human mind is. And then you set a target for yourself and then say you should be very punctual. What is punctuality? It is your own making. So just to tease the Westerners, Swami Vivekananda always used to be late for the lectures. Not that he could not, he knew. But just to tease the Westerners about this idea of artificiality. He used to be late for the lectures intentionally. And people will say, Swami, come, people are waiting for you. And then sometimes he will slowly walk. The tram car is going. Swami, let us catch this. He will walk leisurely. Won't there be another? You see, we live in eternity. You Westerners running behind time. The tyranny of time. I don't know, some of you must have read this famous essay by Aldous Huxley. The tyranny of time. You have to follow time. You have to be punctual. But don't be a slave of time. The present civilization, we are constantly running behind time. Time is crushing you every second. I came by a train from Delhi to Calcutta. It took 36 hours. Oh, is it so? I took a train, only 32 hours it took. You saved 6 hours? What did you do saving those 6 hours? C.M. Joad wrote once, our civilization is such that we move heaven and earth to save a few minutes without having the faintest idea of what to do with them when you have succeeded. You save something and you feel very happy. I have saved 10 minutes. I have the fastest computer. How much time does it take? It took me 10 minutes. Oh, not 10 minutes. For me, it took 9.346 minutes. You have saved 0.46 minutes and you are so happy about it. What did you do with that? See how artificial constructs which the human mind has made is enslaving the mind itself. We have made all this, we are enslaving it. Swami Vivekananda used to tell a story. I'll just finish. His disciple, one of his disciples told him a wonderful story. Vivekananda remembered it all his life. Because he was delaying on purpose, just to tease the Westerners and make them come out to this tyranny of time. There was a jester. You know a jester? A person who makes jokes and clowns in courts. He always makes jokes and makes everybody laugh. He always used to make fun of everything, and everybody used to be intensely happy. I have also the same blame. So there's people, Swami, you are making very serious things so light. Everybody is laughing all the time. So I try to be very serious, but sometimes I can't resist from making people laugh. Life is so fun of fun. Laugh first. Don't be so serious about. Some people are so serious about God and how to realize God. And I always say, religious people, the main problem with religious people is how to realize God. They are so much worried, I have to realize God in this very life. What am I supposed to do? God realization has become a problem now. See, God will make you realize when His own sweet time. Leave it to Him. So this clown overdid it once. The king was discussing something very, very serious, and he made light of it, and everybody started laughing. The king got furious. What? You fellow? All the time you are making fun of everything? Tomorrow you will be executed. The king has all the powers with the monarch, and people are crying bitterly. Oh, such a wonderful person. He makes everybody laugh, and he is a cynosure of all eyes every day. And this fellow is going to be executed tomorrow. So everything was ready, the execution was ready, the platform was ready, and a huge crowd of people with tears in their eyes. The person who was supposed to be executed, the clown, started from his home, but he couldn't go. His horse carriage couldn't negotiate through the crowd. So in his own inimitable, humorous way, he put out his head and said, "Hey man, allow me to go. There will be nothing interesting unless I get there." Swami Vivekananda became so fond of this joke. Whenever people used to rush him, he would say, "There will be nothing interesting unless I get there." What I mean to say is, pick up this paradigm of fun. In Nivedita's conversation, Swamiji said, you see, in India, we have a theory of Leela. Leela means everything is happening by the will of God. It's all a play of God. Why did God create this universe? Anybody? Any idea? Nobody has an answer. So since nobody has an answer, the Hindu thinking is for fun. Leela. Why are we suffering here? Are we suffering? Some of us are suffering. Anybody without any suffering? No. For fun. And Ramakrishna mentioned this. Then somebody said, it may be fun for God, but it's death for us. Then Ramakrishna smiled and said, but who are you apart from him? So he is playing in his own way. Why did he do this? Out of fun. Why are we here? Out of fun. Why am I talking to you in San Diego? Because of fun. Leela. So don't ask too much of why into everything. If you stop asking this question of why for everything, psychologically there will be a revolution in your mind in which you will know that things are just happening. It is not that things are happening because of something, but things are just happening. And the great saint in the recent past, in the western part of India and Maharashtra, his name was Nisargadatta Maharaj. Some of you must have seen his book, I Am That. He was a very great saintly person. He was just running an ordinary shop in which he was selling certain things. And he realized his real nature, but continues to sit in the shop. Somebody came and told him, you are talking about all this, But you are also talking to people. You are also eating and moving around. You are also sitting in the shop. He said, I am not talking to people, but talking is happening. I am not sitting here, but sitting is happening. There are certain things which are happening. That means things are happening not because of something, but because they just happen. If you constantly ask for the cause of something, you can discover a cause. But ultimately, if you ask for the cause of that cause, you will be stuck. So go back and forth. Ultimately, you have to say at some point you have to stop. Science also says, why does this happen? Because of gravitation, the apple fell. Stay famous story. Einstein came and blasted that theory. Why did this apple fall there? Because this earth is pulling it. You don't know gravitation? Because of gravitation. Why did gravitation come on the earth? Don't ask such questions. It is there. So ultimately you can't ask anything. Why does this happen? Children ask such questions. Why does this happen? Because of this. Why does that happen? Because of this. Ultimately you come to a point when you do not know why things happen. So can anybody tell me why electron is negative and proton is positive? Why not the other way about? Science says it is just that. God made the electron in his sweet will as negative and proton is positive. Or that which is negatively charged, you call it an electron. For a change, you can call it a proton also. So we label things, we name things, and then we think we have understood. Ultimately, there can't be understanding of anything through causality. This is what I want to stress. When Swami Vivekananda said, great fun, you try to look at the world without the idea of causality. The moment causality drops away, then you are catapulted into a world of fun in which everything is going on its own way. That's why in India, in Hinduism particularly, most of our gods are mad people. Shiva is mad, Kali is mad. We call it Khepa and Khepi in Bengali. And then what is this world? The world is a marketplace of mad people. Khepar hat bajar, matto dere khepar hat bajar. It's a famous song by Ramakrishna, which is very favorite of Holy Mother Sharada Devi. The whole world is only a marketplace of mad people. People are moving around. Why is Shiva behaving this way? He is not conditioned by anything. The unconditioning of the human mind, the unshackling of the mind from causality is taken as an idiom, expressed in the idiom of madness. Mad people are those people who are not concerned by causality. Shiva is lying there and Vishnu is lying somewhere. So our two great gods, Vishnu and Shiva, all the time they are found sleeping. The whole country is happily sleeping now. And we are not ashamed of it. People say, whole country is sleeping. So we are happy about it. Because what are you wakeful people doing? Running about and quarreling? When you sleep, at least you are peaceful, you don't disturb others. The idea being that you go beyond causality. So we make fun of our gods, which other religions dare not. We make caricatures and cartoons of gods and goddesses. Because gods and goddesses are very own, come on, make fun of them. Because it's all a part of our own life. So don't take life too seriously, but take it seriously. What does that mean? Globally, the whole thing is great fun. But locally, there should be some seriousness. Mahatma Gandhi famously said, think globally, act locally. I'll give you a simple example. In a game of soccer, game of cricket, you enter into the field, the whole thing globally is a game, then you don't say, the free kick, why should I kick it? The whole thing is a game. You don't say that. I want to have a goal and win the match. When you're in it, you try to win the match. Suppose you lose it, what do? Jump into the river? You laugh it out and come away, that's all. So go through life as if it is real and serious. Heart of hearts, you know, success and failure are in his hands. You don't have anything to do with this. So globally, you think that the whole thing is great fun and play it. But locally, you be extremely serious. If you take this position, then life will be great joy and great fun. One of the disciples of Swami Vivekananda told him, this life, world is a great stage in which we are actors who come to act, quoting from Shakespeare. Then Swamiji smiled and said, but madam, I think slightly differently. What is that? This world is a circus in which we are clowns who come to tumble down. You know the somersaults which the clowns do? But she was flabbergasted. But Swami, why is it that we tumble down? Swami Vivekananda smiled and said, because madam, we like tumbling down. And we are tired of it, we quit. Nobody compels us to do anything. Out of our own free will, we thought we will tumble down. Scientists are tumbling through science. Computer scientists are tumbling through gadgets. And all of us are tumbling through Android phones and WhatsApp and Facebooks. And religious people are tumbling through religious rituals. Spiritualists are tumbling through spirituality. Everybody is tumbling in its own way, and the game goes on. And the greatest master tumbling maker is that great God who is having the great fun at the expense of all of us. So if you can discover that great God is one of great fun, then you participate in this funny game and then play along with him. So that's the idea of the infinite past and the infinite present I was talking about. Infinite past and the infinite future, the double cone, and the center is a point, which is Euclidean point without a dimension. So catch hold of this and then play. It's called the Damaru, which is a symbol which is in the hand of Shiva. Shiva has a Damaru. He catches hold of the present and then plays the future and the past. So when you do that, you are sure of the present. The time stops at the present. Kala Baddha Vartamane, there's a song on Shiva. Kala, time, has stopped, become frozen as it were in the present. Future and the past simply spread out. Time doesn't move anymore. Time has no direction. Time just stops and spreads like space. In that infinite past and the infinite future which don't exist, there's an eternal present, and you manipulate the past and the future by holding the present as Shiva does. So Shiva is called Kala. He is time. Not ordinary Kala, Mahakala. He is a great time. And his holy spouse is called Mahakali. Is feminine gender. Mahakala and Mahakali, Shiva and Parvati are dancing the mad dance. So what are you supposed to do? Dance with them, enjoy. Not the enjoyment of the senses as we normally do now, the divine enchantment in which there is no causality, there is no why or how, there is no pleasure or pain, there is no future or the past. You are the eternal present, dancing that mad joy. Ever yours in madness, Swami Vivekananda. Thank you.